Hey there, Sankum. Everybody, welcome back for another amazing episode at the Marhaba Crypto Show. Now, today we have a phenomenal show for you guys. We are talking about some things that are highly in hype. So you want to be here listening to every single part. With me, as always, Moby, and we also have Mufti Bilal coming in very soon. So before anything, Moby, what's going on? How are the kangaroos? Are they hopping? What's going on?
Yeah, man, we're doing really well. We've got our Australian summer in gear. I think there's about 8 days of work or so left, and then we go on holiday. So, very, very excited. This is the time of the year, and I always recommend everyone to do the same. Make your goals for the year. December's the year to get the month to get excited. So I'm doing good, man. I hope you're writing your goals too. You know, one wife in 2022, one wife in 2023. You know, like a full repertoire of
Uh,
hats, that type of thing. So yeah, man.
Yeah, I think part of my goal is gonna be getting new hats and try to secure as much hair as I could that's left in my head. But you said something very interesting. You said holidays. Could you define what does holidays mean? Like I haven't seen some for the last God knows how long.
Oh,
Actually, that's a lie.
holidays.
I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
in Pakistan for quite a bit. I was in Pakistan for quite a bit, but I'm just saying I don't think there's yeah holidays is an interesting word. But I'm
Fair
happy
enough.
for you because I know you work really hard. I know you work really hard, so I'm excited for you. What's your plans for the holidays?
Just well, COVID's been problematic for everyone. So camping, going for road trips. I'm trying to get out of the country to go to Fiji, but fingers crossed. Let's see how that happens. But other than that, yeah, really good, man. You're settling well in
Fantastic.
Saudi.
Yes. I'm in Jeddah, and it's been great. Last God knows, I think 15 days. It's been pretty good. I'm enjoying it. I would highly recommend it if somebody's interested in knowing more about how it's living in the Middle East. They can kind of put some comments below, and maybe I can answer some things there. You can DM me on Telegram or something. But yeah, it's been good. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Okay, so let's get this thing started. So for today, we're gonna have Moby's market update. After that, we have Mufti Blog talking about Olympus Dao. It's a really in demand
Very
question.
exciting.
So yeah, it's very exciting. I think it's exciting for us too. And then after that, as always, Marhaba updates, and then we may jump into a question of the week, or depending on the situation of the show. So before uh, we're ready to go, Moby, from your side.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's kick straight into the market update. So, last week I spoke around the fact that we needed to stay above 46K to 48K for Bitcoin, right? In the short term. And for the better part, if I kind of jump back onto my screen here, for the better part, that's what sort of happened. We've managed to maintain that line. Like as of recording right now, we're at 49,120. The good thing about, and it's always nice when technical analysis works out, you can see here this 24% retracement line, which I drew from the high to the local low. And you can see we've literally been nicely bouncing off that line, quite well. But let's be honest. Let's be very, very open and honest about this. We're not just always here to spread positive hopium. We are definitely in a downtrend. That's for sure. Last week I sort of mentioned, guys, you got to be careful. You have to prepare for the fact that if institutional buyers are in the market, and they are in the market, then December is typically a time where they look for tax loss selling. This is very, very common in equity markets. It's common in share markets, that type of thing. Tax loss selling, where there's an opportunity for them to sell at a tax loss, and then buy back in the new year. That's something that no matter what the reason is, a lot of analysts are saying, yeah, definitely, there's definitely a short term downtrend. Now, the good news is there will be in my opinion anyway, you can see if you look at the RSI, and the RSI is a relative strength index. And when we get to this dotted line here, that's typically the oversold point. Now, if you sort of look at that, if you just look back at historically, when we get below this dotted line at the oversold point, we typically bounce up, right? We typically have a bit of a local bounce. If I go back all the way here, back to June, we have a couple of green candles that that do arise. So do I see a very short term uptrend in the next a week or so, yes, and I see that as a target of $52,000. But we're definitely in a downtrend, that's for sure. Now, if I go back to this chart that I shared with you guys last week, and you can sort of see here, I have my bullish. Let me just hide some of these indicators for you guys for a second. If I just hide, oh no, I think I need to keep them. If I leave most of these on, you can see here that bullish, that long-term trend line that we've been talking about for weeks, maybe months. I've had this here. You can see we're at this very precarious position right now where we need to bounce off of it. And we have kind of just touched it, yesterday actually. And fortunately, we're sort of above that. But you can see we need to sort of maintain that long-term line. Now, one thing I will sort of show you, the funny thing is if you don't trust this graph that I've drawn up here, drawn up. If I turn on the 200-day EMA line, so that's here, you can see how beautifully this long-term line that I've drawn is like almost perfectly aligned with that 200-day standard, that moving average there as well. So if you don't trust this model, the 200-day moving average is a very, very common indicator that people look at. The worst case scenario, now I don't think this is sort of going to happen, but the worst case scenario, this is something that if I just share this tweet by Crypto, he's been talking about this thing called Three Peaks and Domed House. Now, when you first read this, it seems like Doomed House, but it's really Three Peaks and Domed House. And essentially what this pattern is talking about is we kind of follow these peaks and then we have this downturn trend line. Now, what he's determined, and he's not the only one, that we are actually almost mirroring that to a T, this Three Peaks and Domed House right now. And we're currently at this, if you can see my screen, at this point between 26 and 27. So very similar to what I said, I do expect a bump to 52,000. I think we're going to run into some resistance there potentially, and then there is an expected downturn, from this 27 point to 28. Now, when you kind of look at what that looks like in terms of a price target, you're looking at about 30K or so. If we kind of go back to this kind of May level, 30K, 32K. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we're going to, get down to that level. But one thing I sort of want everyone to be conscious of, and I don't actually think, Ahmed, we're going to have these same bull and bear market cycles that we used to. Now, I've spoken about it, you've spoken about it, I might sound hypocritical here. We've both spoken about the fact that, bull market, bear market, 4-year extended cycles, right? I actually don't think that is going to happen anymore. Like, if I'm completely honest with you, Ahmed, because the market cycles that we used to have, we didn't have, and if I share this here, we didn't have Michael Saylor, these big institutional buyers, buying $3.6 billion, right? We didn't have El Salvador buying it as local currency. So I don't think we're going to have these 80%, 90% drops. And I don't just think that is hopeful or wishful thinking. And I've got some more things to sort of share that kind of, lean towards that fact. But your thoughts, Ahmed, because I don't really think that necessarily we should be, overly concerned. We should be prepared, but around these long-term extended cycles. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I yesterday made a TikTok explaining this exact point, that we're not in the same type of bull cycle or bear cycle or the same, trend analysis from the 2017 and back. Then crypto was just like, taking the essence of hype. Now people have started accepting it. Institutions are investing in it. We're talking about big investors are part of crypto now. So and Bitcoin itself is part of a lot of institutions' cash flow statement. So it's acceptance, and it's starting to become more of a normal thing. Plus, because of the recent COVID printing of many of the reserve banks internationally, people have started losing their. I mean, people have already started losing all their trust in the current fiat system, but they're starting to question it even more. And due to that, there's a lot more interest going towards things like crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum. So you're right. I don't think it's going to be similar to what it was before. I think there's things that are different in this current time, and we need to account for those things in our analysis also.
I mean, I definitely think it's more comparable to, share markets where, you do have these black swan events where you do have crashes. Of course, those things happen, but typically we don't have these drawn out cycles that we do with Bitcoin, right? So, speaking of this Michael Saylor tweet, who's been buying in these dips? Michael Saylor has. He purchased another 1,434 Bitcoin for $82 million, right? Again, moving on, right? We know one, and we've spoken about this in previous episodes. And if you got, like I always talk about, these episodes are kind of like Legos and building blocks. So make sure you like and subscribe. We can tell a lot of you who are watching, we appreciate the patronage, but you guys need to subscribe and like the video and share it with your friends. But we've spoken about in the fact that the market's really waiting for this Bitcoin spot ETF, which is the ability to buy Bitcoin on the share market. Anyway, that's in summary. And we just keep getting rejected and rejected and rejected. Now, actually, institutional, buyers and institutions are finding workarounds. There's a story I'm sharing here by 3IQ, and they're allowing a new account that will actually have custody of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other assets on behalf of clients. Now, these guys, actually, 3IQ, the parent company, they're actually responsible for Bitcoin and Ethereum spot ETF in Canada. So companies are sort of realizing, like, man, our buyers are dying for this. Like, the institutions, family offices, high net worth individuals are dying for this. We're just going to find workarounds, and it's happening now. So it's not that, like, they're not investing. It's kind of like buy the rumor, sell the news. Because I also think, and I think it's for another episode, that if this does happen, Bitcoin is going to pump. It is going to hit all-time high. But there is going to be a sell-off as well. But these high net worth individuals aren't really worried about that. Now, the next big thing happened, and this is really, really huge. I don't think this can be understated, there was a crypto congressional hearing on Capitol Hill. And, I don't understand American politics. I think it's the most complicated, convoluted scam on earth. There, I've said it. I don't care. I don't follow it. Whoever came up with that system is a moron. But the fact is that they have these hearings, right? And it's good for us. So what were these hearings about? Well, they had people from FTX, Coinbase, Circle, so the guys behind USDC, stablecoin. And surprisingly, the tone was actually quite cordial, right? So I'm sharing this article by Forbes. Capitol Hill warms up to crypto. And they spoke about the fact that, like a lot of people listening, I don't know if they're senators or congressmen or whatever you call them, it actually surprised a lot of people. And this is really, really good, because one thing that's important is when the constituents or, people behind these people listening push for progress, it often happens. So, this is actually really, really bullish. And I think the people that these people represent are rich. They want to invest in Bitcoin. And I really think this goes a long way toward the spot Bitcoin ETF happening in the first or second quarter of next year. If you're a conspiracy theorist, you could probably say, look, we know it's coming. They know it's coming, but they're just doing this to force the price down, which I think is very plausible. But the matter of fact is, I do anticipate that's going to happen in the first quarter or second quarter of next year. So the lesson is, don't sell your crypto to like high net worth individuals. Don't sell it to the sharks who are just going to scoop it up. Don't do that. If you don't need to sell it, don't sell it. Not financial advice. Moving forward, and I'll move through this quite quickly now. Here's an article by, speaking of the fact that we are in this turn that we didn't have in the last bull cycle. A big investment firm called Bonafide Wealth in New York. They released this, kind of article or statement where they talk about the fact that you should have crypto in your portfolio, no matter what age. And these guys generally deal with millennials, and they're sort of saying that half of them are looking at crypto as an asset allocation strategy. So, very early days, it's still at 50%, it's still only 50% of millennials. So, if you're here, you're in the right spot. Last week, I also spoke about Ethereum too, and I spoke about the fact that Ethereum needed to stay above 4,000. I've got this line here, and you can see it's wicked below it a few times, but all in all, 4,000 it seems to be a very, very strong level of support. If we lose that level of support, then from there, 3.8, 3.7, 3.5, anything less than 3,000, I think would be a great buying opportunity. But it's just something to be mindful of. Now, from a fundamental point of view, Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum, of course, he came up with a roadmap. Now, the thing is this: when you read this roadmap, it is quite technical. It talks about their move to proof of stake and changing up block sizes and that type of thing. The point is, this is actually really good for institutions, right? For the big investors. They like to hear updates. They like to see something's happening. They like to hear from Vitalik. So that's bullish on that side. The final or the second last piece of news I want to talk about is Solana, right? Now Solana, I drew this Fibonacci retracement, last week, or I think, yeah, whenever I drew it. But anyway, you can sort of see that we have hit this $170 level. Now, typically that used to be a very, very good level of support to buy. But if I'm honest, if I kind of look at the metrics, right, the fundamentals, because I'm always asked, is it a good time to buy Solana? Have I missed out? Well, if you kind of look at my candles here, I've got Hike and Ashi candles. And Hike and Ashi candles, if you don't know anything about them, they're very good at spotting trends, right? So if I change these candles, which I won't, you would see some greens and some reds, but you can see there's a lot of red. We're definitely in a downturn here. So if I turn my indicators back on, you can see we're hitting this level, this retracement level, the 0.5 retracement level. And I do think Solana has a little bit more ways to go. 140, 150. If Bitcoin goes into a bit of a dump, you can see even possibly 130 happening. Don't hold out for it. It might be a good time to kind of dollar cost average into Solana. But yeah, that's sort of my kind of sentiment there. Final news, something back, in my sort of backyard, which is really positive for Australians, is the Australian government gives nod to 6 world leading crypto reforms. So our treasurer, Josh Frydenberg, spoke about the idea of they're looking at rolling out these crypto proposals that will place Australia in a very, very favorable light. Now, I think part of it is also to kind of make sure they get the tax that they need. But I think all in all, this is quite bullish. They're looking at this quite positively, which really, really is a good vote, a good vote of confidence for institutional buyers here. And I think all in all, quite sort of bullish. But that's my market update for the week, Ahmed. Try to keep it a little bit shorter. So hopefully I did. Let me know, your thoughts. What do you think?
No, I think you touched on some really big points here. One thing before anything I say is that we need to show appreciation for your efforts and your analysis, Movie. Honestly, going over what you've done in the last few weeks and even looking back a few months when we got started, you said certain projects, you said certain things, which have turned out to be very, very like in line with your analysis. So, big thank you for your effort there. I gotta say, I mean, thank you because you helped us make some decent returns on our investment because your analysis were very, very fruitful. So just want to say thank you. From your analysis from today, yeah, I have a similar opinion. I'm really looking forward to the ETFs coming in Canada because my TFSA, my tax-free savings account, can use some of those specific investments because right now they're all in stocks and there's some crypto and there's also some stocks. I think I want to make more crypto as part of my TFSA. Okay, I think we have Mufti Bilal in the house. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes, salam.
Wa
Oh,
alaikum assalam,
sorry,
Mufti. How are you
Mufti
doing?
Bilal. Just repeat yourself. We should be able to hear you now.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, everyone.
There we
How are
go.
you?
Walaikum salam.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Sheikh, so Jazakallah khair for coming. Your point today or your question of is really what's I think me and Moby are also very interested. I think this is what we do every time. We also sit back and
We're
we listen
selfish.
and
We're selfish. Yeah.
we're
We
because
ask
there's so much to
Mufti.
learn. So Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. So Olympus Dao, what's your opinion, Mufti? Is this something that we should get involved with? Is this something that we can make that passive income from?
And maybe Mufti, and again, thanks for coming on. Maybe for those who are uninitiated, give a quick background on what it is. It's and what type of Olympus Dao, Time Wonderland. What are these things? And then please let's hear your opinion on them.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I try to look at Olympus Dao this week, and one thing I have to say is that it is quite a complex protocol,
Mhm.
and really it goes back to what I was saying. Probably a couple of weeks back, is that uh, it is very unlikely that a lot of people out there that are investing in crypto actually know what they're doing. Because when it comes to Olympus DAO, the funny thing was there was a certain information that I was after, which I couldn't find on their website or anywhere else. So I went onto the Discord group and I asked the question. And instead of getting an answer, I got kicked out of the group. So I am banned on the Olympus Discord group for some reason, just for asking questions, just for seeking knowledge, basically. But anyhow, it's a very complex protocol, but I would sum it up by saying that there are two main things that you need to understand about, actually, three main things you need to understand about Olympus. That number one, Olympus is seeking to become a currency. Okay. So it's not the token that you are purchasing doesn't represent a specific asset, although that they're trying to stabilize the value of the token by having their own reserves. So what they do is that, like for example, in certain protocols, like you have like stable coins, for example, like they have their reserve made in things which are not connected to the crypto world. So they might have like US dollar, for example,
Mm.
as a part of the reserve, or they might have like commercial papers, which is part of the reserve. So with Olympus, they're trying to use crypto at this moment in time. They're trying to, because this thing changes all the time. So they started with DAI, for example. So at the beginning, they had DAI to back up the reserves, and eventually they started to move out towards different type of cryptocurrencies. Now, having a reserve made out of non-Sharia compliant tokens to stabilize the value is in itself a subject that needs to be dealt from a Sharia perspective. But I don't think this is the moment to talk about that. That it requires a very deep discussion. But what is enough to say is that there will probably be a lot of scholars out there who will be against it. That's why you still have scholars today that are against fiat currencies, who they feel that uh, is backed by nothing, right? But to stabilize the value, you have like these reserves that are made out of non-Sharia compliant asset. So, but let's not talk about that. So this Olympus token, they have their own reserve made out of various cryptos, and that can change at all time. But essentially, what they're trying to be is to become a currency. Now, how do you actually profit from it? And there's two main ways to profit from Olympus. One is by selling a bond. Okay. Now, in this particular thing, uh, again, this also we mentioned before that in the crypto world there are certain terms that are usually used which have been taken from traditional finance. Okay. And if you were to just base your judgment on these terms, you would say, okay, this is not Sharia compliant or this is Sharia compliant. But in reality, the term doesn't really reflect what the product is about. So, in this an example, a particular instance with the Olympics, I give you an example. There is a sale of a bond. Now, in traditional finance, a bond is what we call an IOU. It's basically a debt certificate. So, like for example, Ahmed, I'm going to approach Ahmed. I'm going to say, Ahmed, look, please lend me $100, for example, and then he lends me $100, and there's a certificate that's being issued to say that okay, Bilal owes Ahmed $100 and he needs to repay Ahmed in 5 years' time, for example, and there's going to be an added interest in it. So this certificate is basically what we call a bond. Okay. Now, in the Olympus protocol, the bond, what we call a bond, there is actually something completely different. Okay. The bond that we're talking about in Olympus is basically Olympus tell the investors that you sell us your own cryptos, your own crypto asset. You sell us that. Okay. For what? For Olympus token. So if you have, as an example, and it doesn't necessarily mean this happens, but just for people to understand, let's say you have like 10 Bitcoin, okay, and you want 100 of Olympus tokens, which are called OM, I think, OHM, something like that, OM token. So you're gonna say, okay, I'm gonna say, okay, you give me 10 of your Bitcoin, and I will give you 100 Ohm tokens, but at a discounted price. Okay, so instead of selling it to you at its fair value, I'm gonna sell it to you at a discounted price. However, I am not gonna give you these Ohm tokens now. I will give it to you in, in 2 months, 3 months, or 6 months time, whatever. I'm not gonna give you the Ohm tokens now. So this is what this process is called bonding, basically. And this is how people can make money. This is non-Sharia compliant. Okay? The reason why is because if for example, if tokens, if Olympus protocol is trying to become a currency, and you are exchanging cryptocurrency with that currency, then to take possession of the currency in this at the same time is paramount for the validity of the contract from a Sharia perspective. So, for example, IOFI has mentioned that when there is an exchange of currency, both parties must take possession of that currency in the same gathering, whether it is through physical mean or constructive mean. So, what does that mean? For example, I want to exchange $100 against 500 euros. Okay, so I go to Ahmed again and I say, okay, Ahmed, I have $100. Can you exchange it against 500 euros? Now, Ahmed, he needs to give me that $500 in my hand, and I need to give him that, 500 euros in my hand, and I need to give him the $100 in his hand for it to be Sharia compliant. If there is a delay in the exchange, then that contract is non-Sharia compliant. So if, for example, I give him the $100 now, and he tells me, okay, I will give you the 500 euros later on, that is non-Sharia compliant. Or if we agree on the contract now, so we entered into a contract, but I don't actually give him anything, and he doesn't give me anything, and we say, okay, we'll exchange at a later point, that is also non-Sharia compliant. We must exchange the currency there and there. Now, if we say, okay, so physical mean is to actually put the money into someone's hand. That is physical position. But if you cannot do physical position, you need to do what we call constructive position. And constructive position is you might not necessarily take possession of the item physically, but you might have the ability to do so. For example, again, I come to Ahmed and I tell Ahmed, okay, I will give you $100. Please give me 500 euros. Now, Ahmed here hasn't got the 500 euros with him, but while we are talking to one another, he makes a bank transfer directly into my account of that 500 euros. Now the money is in my account. I can go and take out of the ATM if I want to. Okay, I don't have it physically, but I have constructive position. So when you are exchanging currency, both parties must take possession of that currency, whether physically or whether through constructive mean. In the case of Olympus, if you are selling your cryptocurrency to buy Olympus token, which is a currency as well, then you must take possession of that token there and there. But this is not happening in that process. So this is going to be very unlikely Sharia compliant. There might be some situation where it might be Sharia compliant, but it needs further research. So that's one thing. The second way that people are making money, and I think this is where the most investors are going to Olympus for at the moment, is through staking, because they have some crazy API
APY.
percentage. So, but this is why I contacted Olympus on the Discord to get more information about this staking process. If you remember what I said last week, is that when you are staking, and you want to get a reward, for it to be Sharia compliant, one of the conditions is that you must actually do the work of validating transaction. If you are validating the transaction and you are getting a reward for it, then it's fine. But if you are just giving your money, you're giving your crypto to a pool and you're not doing anything and you're just sitting there and then someone else is doing the work, etc., and you're being rewarded for that, that is not Sharia compliant. Because essentially what would have happened is that you would have lent your crypto to the pool. Do you understand? And by after lending the crypto to the pool, you are being rewarded for that for that loan, and therefore that is interest. And if this is interest, then therefore is not Sharia compliant. So I went onto the Discord group and I asked them. I said, okay, when somebody is staking, is that person actually validating any sort of transaction? Yes or no? And I was expecting them to give me an answer, but unfortunately, no answer came in, and therefore, obviously, for me, this is obviously very unprofessional, first of all. But by looking at the few articles I've come across, etc., I am assuming that the staking process in Olympus, it's what we call a delegated type of staking process, where you are actually putting your crypto into there and it's someone else who's doing the work and you are being rewarded for that. I'm assuming that this is what's happening, and if that is the case, then it is definitely non-Sharia compliant. But again, if there are more information that comes to light later on about it, then maybe we can reconsider
And
this topic.
and just to sort of be clear, I know the answer, but just for everyone's, I guess, understanding, any fork of Olympus Dao to, so any sort of copy. So Time Wonderland at the moment seems to be the one that the retail investors, individual investors, are getting very excited about, because like you said, Mufti, the APIs, like I'm just sharing my screen here, 81,549. So I mean, the first thing when you see something like that, you think, if something's too good to be true, it often is. But I guess what you're saying applies for forks of Olympus too, correct? Like a Time Wonderland, or like another one on another chain.
Again, it all depends what's happening. I mean, the thing, movie is that there is a verse in the Quran, yeah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he talks about riba, he talks about interest. And he says that one of the objection of the non-Muslim at the time was to say that, Allah is making riba haram, when riba is just business, it's just a trade. And Allah then therefore says, no, there is a clear difference between interest and a profit, between interest and a trade. Okay? The two are not the same. They are not the same. And yet today we still have that thing within the Muslim community, when there are Sharia compliant product out there that are generating profit, the same objection comes in. Oh, no, this is not profit, this is interest, it's just the same. But it's not the same. It is not the same. One thing is profit, one thing is interest, although it might look the same. But similarly, you might have Muslims who consider interest payment to be the same as profit, meaning that they understand it to be the same as profit. They're saying, no, this is not interest. This is just a profit. This is from a trade. This is wrong as well. Whenever the question comes about, making a profit, making a return on an investment, you need to ask yourself, what is it that am I benefiting from? Am I trading something? Am I being rewarded for selling something, for selling an asset? Or am I being rewarded for putting some work there? Or am I given something for free, basically, as a gift? Okay? If it's not a gift, you're not being paid for the work, and you're not being paid for something that you're trading, then what is it that you're being paid for? For lending something. If it's something to do with lending and locking your crypto somewhere and not touching it, and then you're lending basically and you're benefiting from that, then definitely it's not non-Sharia compliant. So this is a thing that you need to always ask yourself, that am I lending my crypto? Am I, when I'm putting my crypto lock somewhere, am I actually lending it to them, or am I actually doing the work and being rewarded for that? So I think that
Hmm.
this, you understand, if everybody would have that approach, then they probably get the answer to half of the concern uh, straight away.
Hmm. Hmm.
So with
Okay.
Olympus and everything is the same thing. So when I looked into Olympus, the first thing I asked myself when I look at staking is what is happening in staking, for example. What is happening there? Now the high percentage of return. Okay, why can't they actually give that high percentage of return? It's because you see, earlier I mentioned about the reserves. Okay, now if they have, like, for example, $10 million of reserve asset, then they need to be able to issue $10 million dollar worth of OM tokens. If they have less than 10 million worth of token in circulation, like let's say for example they only have like 6 million worth, that means they need to keep on creating tokens. Okay, so because their reserves is actually so high, they need to keep on creating these tokens. So people who are actually selling them, these bonding asset, they have created a reserve that is so huge that they have to keep on creating new tokens. Now, these new tokens, when they create it, what they do is they just give it to the people that are staking their tokens. And because the reserve is so
Mm.
high, they can actually manage to create a huge amount of tokens. And because they can create a huge amount of tokens, they can actually give you a high return. That's what's happening.
Hmm.
This is now that's absolutely fine. That is fine. We're not, if they give you 100%, 200%, 300%, it's absolutely fine. However, are you being rewarded for a specific work? I.e., if we talk about staking here, are you actually validating any sort of work? If you are and you are being rewarded for that, fair enough. And but if you're not, if you're just putting your crypto there and you're just sitting around, say, like say in Oldo around, so you're sitting and nothing happening and just being rewarded for that, then yeah, that is very problematic. That is most likely interest that you are being paid with, and that is non-share compliant.
Okay, okay. There's a lot of questions that are gonna come up in regards to this. So, inshallah, guys, if you guys have any question in regards to that, put it in the comments, and we will try to address them in the next video or the video after, inshallah. Moby, any comments or questions?
No, no, I think that was really clear by Mufti. So thank you so much for that. I guess what I understood, it's not that, and thanks for that last bit of clarification. It's not the act of them. I'm gonna have to listen that back because it's so complicated how they do this. Like they issue the
Hmm.
tokens and then they reward the stakers. That itself is not the non-compliant thing. It's what they actually do with the tokens that you stake. So that would mean, Mufti, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that would mean that, if Olympus Dao is or isn't Sharia compliant, that doesn't necessarily mean Time Wonderland is or isn't. And I know there's one on Solana too that they've copied called Invictus Dao. So it doesn't necessarily mean that if one's haram, all of them are. It depends on what they actually do with your tokens that you stake, and that's where,
Yes, yes,
yeah.
exactly. Yes, you're absolutely right. It depends what, because I haven't looked into Time Wonderland or anything like that, but it doesn't mean if Olympus is non-share compliant that everything else is non-share compliant. Uh, Olympus token in itself, again, irrespective of what we had mentioned earlier about, what if a currency is backed by a reserve that is non-share compliant, irrespective of that token, we're not going to deal into that
Mm,
discussion now. But if the OM in itself is just a currency, okay, is meant to be, at least it's trying to be a currency. So it doesn't represent a service that is non-share compliant, okay, and it doesn't represent a non-share compliant asset, meaning when you're buying the token itself, you're not owning a non-share compliant. You understand? It's not as if like, okay, I'm buying that token and that token represent a bottle of alcohol or a bottle of champagne, for example. Okay, we know that. So if it's a currency, then you need to treat it as such, and you need to apply all the share compliant rules of in relation to currency to it. Okay, now it might be possible. It might be possible, and again, this is not a definite answer. It is very possible that you might just want to buy the token. So you buy your own token, for example, and then you use it to purchase things. That might be possible. Okay, there might be how do you call it? There might be leeway for that, but it doesn't mean that you can actually use that. It's like a fiat currency, right? You can have like fiat currency in your pocket, in your wallet, but it doesn't actually mean you can do whatever you want with it. Meaning you cannot just go and put it in a bank account and start earning interest with it, right? So on token, I think most likely is that type of currency where you can probably buy it, own it, use it to purchase things, but you can only use it in a share compliant manner. You cannot use it for anything to do with haram activities. And again, if their staking is non-share compliant, it doesn't mean any other folk out there is non-share compliant. We need to assess everything individually.
Awesome. Okay, I think that's very clear.
Okay,
Ahmed, back over to
fantastic,
you.
fantastic. All right.
Okay, thank you
If
very
you
much.
guys have questions, we are gonna yeah, we'll wait for them in the comments below. But I think we're gonna move on to the Marhaba updates. Okay, so as you guys can see here, I'm gonna kind of share my screen and let's see if that works. Okay, fantastic. I think we're sharing my screen now. Okay, Moby, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. We can.
Fantastic. All right, guys. So currently we are having a official Telegram referral campaign. This is a great opportunity for anybody who has friends that might be interested in, products and solutions like ours. This is your chance to kind of invite them into the Telegram, and because you're able to invite them and they successfully join, you will get a referral point. And if you are, one of the winners from the referral point, you can win up to $100, $50, $25, or even $10, even if you're in the top 50. So there's a lot of potential in regards to awards being given out. So if you want friends, if you have friends that might be interested and you want to make money from bringing them in, refer them in to the Telegram chat, and you will be able to make some money, inshallah. All right. Another big update is that for our Souk NFT, the marketplace, it's a big challenge that is happening. There's a lot of devs that are joining this challenge. This is a challenge for designers, people who are interested in NFTs, people who just want to create content, and then make an NFT out of it, and that will be launched onto the platform, and it will sell over there. But also the winners of this challenge, who will make the best designs, artwork XYZ, will be given a big prize. I think the total prize is up to $1,000. So huge competition here. I may even be participating in it, and I might upload some of the pictures that I've taken from the travels I've done. And Moby, I know you're into NFTs, so if you got some designs and stuff you want to put up, this is a place. Mufti Sab, even if yourself, if you have any designs that you want to put up of anything that you think is gonna be demanded or in hype, please join this challenge and put your designs to great use. And also, you can potentially earn in many different ways. One, from selling the designs themselves, and also from the challenge itself. Okay. Yes, this is also huge news. We have been audited, and we have successfully passed the audit, and there were zero issues, no issues, as the report says. If you want to read the Hacken report, you can go on our Medium and you can read it in detail. But as you can see here, Hacken security audit says that we passed with flying colors. There's zero issues. So those are some big news for this last week. Now, a lot of people will be asking about, well, Ahmed, what's going on with the IDO? What's going on with your Sahal wallet? All these details will be given within 24 hours of this video being loaded. All you have to do is join our Telegram chat and join our social media. you'll get all the updates over there. That is a quick update as to what's going on with Marhaba, and what are we looking at for the upcoming week. Moby, any questions in regards to that, or should I move to the question of the week?
No, man. Yeah, move to the question. I think that's exciting stuff.
Phenomenal. Okay, very quickly, inside of the week. A lot of people may have heard us say crypto, a lot of people may have heard us say token, a lot of people may have heard us say NFT. So this week, I want to kind of just quickly explain the differences of tokens and coins and how many are there. So one, there's stuff like digital currency, stuff like USDT, stuff like USDC, tokens that are pegged to a currency. So that way, it's easy to understand the fiat transactions and knowing what the real value of a token is as of now. Another token that we say is an exchange token. So stuff like where you can on an exchange you might need to buy a token to make certain transactions happen. You might have seen this in a few specific exchanges. Now BNB has a lot of use cases, but one of its use cases is an exchange token, because if you have BNB on Binance, when you do transactions it's cheaper because BNB will facilitate those transactions or those buyings and sellings, and that way you can use that token as also as an exchange token. The next one is a smart contract blockchain. I think a lot of people know about Polygon Matic. They know there's many coins out there or blockchain solutions out there that are smart contract based. NFTs, I think we've talked quite a bit about them here. They're a non-fungible token, and there's various things that you can do with it. You can make direct income from producing them and selling them, or just buying and selling them, and also by minting them and then staking them. There's also ways that you can make income from there. There's an asset-backed token. These tokens are also available. You can see there's quite a bit of tokens that are backed by stuff like gold or stuff like silver, and they're kind of backed by that specific asset. And we need these type of tokens to distribute the concept of equity, and sorry, distribute the concept of value, and how your current tokens are performing with commodity based tokens or other asset based tokens. Then there's also utility tokens. Utility tokens are probably a few of the greatest or the best. I personally like them the most. I'm always in hunt of good utility based tokens that are halal. A token like, honestly, you can say Ethereum is also a utility token. There's a few other tokens that you can say are utility tokens, and you can invest in them because they have a specific use case. You can do things on them. You can develop on them. You can use them for security. XYZ. And there's many tokens or coins that are out there that have more than one use case. So BNB, you can do NFTs on them. You can use them as an exchange. You can use them as a smart contract. You can do utility on them. So you got a lot of these different tokens out there. Just I wanted to let you guys know there's more than one type of asset class within crypto, and so you want to be aware of all these various forms of assets or mediums of assets within blockchain. That kind of wraps up our show for today, guys. Thank you so much. Any questions, any comments before we leave, Mufti Saab?
Well, Mufti Saab has left us with his gracious presence, so in and out, but I'm sure he'll be back next week. But no, honestly, I think that makes a lot of sense. Really, really exciting stuff right now. I think now's a really good time. Like one thing I didn't really talk about during my market update was, sometimes the best thing to do is just wait. You know what I mean? Like, should I buy? Should I sell? Waiting is okay too. Like when we're going through this sideways action and we're going through these precarious levels, it's okay to just wait, and leave your funds for projects like Mahaba, with the IDO coming out soon, with, play to earn. Like last week we spoke about Soul Chicks, right? So guys, you got to tune in, you got to subscribe and hear all our tips as well. A couple of you guys have commented in the comment section before, we shared AVAX, we shared Solana before they pumped. But I guess I'm going off on a tangent, but I guess the point is, have that dry powder ready for these great projects, and we'll see you guys soon.
Yeah. Fantastic, fantastic. All right, guys. As always, thank you so much for coming. We're bringing you great quality content here. There's a lot of hours of research that goes into these discussions. You can see Mufti was going into the chats. He was reading the white paper. He was doing all this stuff. Moby does a lot of work behind the analysis. He shows it to you guys. But there's a lot of hours of understanding and research that is backing this quick 20-minute update. So please, you want to like, share, subscribe, share this with people who would be benefited, because if somebody benefits from you, you are also reaping the rewards, either financially. They may just come back to you and be like, hey, thanks a lot, here you go, here's something. But also in the long run, things do come back to benefit you when you're benefiting others. So share this with all your friends, and yeah, check us out on our other social medias. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook. Guys, Facebook is low right now. Go on Facebook and just follow, like all that stuff. And yeah, check us out on our. We got Twitter, we got Telegram, we got Facebook, and we got LinkedIn, and also on LinkedIn. Other than that, thank you so much. Take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.